Did you know that in the land of the free minds, some books are still being silenced right now? Not by foreign governments or authoritarian regimes, but right in USA, by its own institutions. Today we're going to explore 7 philosophical works that various American institutions have banned or restricted, and more importantly, we're going to discuss why this assault on intellectual freedom should terrify every person who values democracy and free thought. Let's start with something that might surprise you. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power has been banned in numerous state prison systems across America. Prison administrators argue that this book teaches manipulation tactics that could be used against authority figures. But here's what they're really afraid of: prisoners learning to think strategically about power dynamics. Think about this for a moment. We're talking about a book that analyzes historical examples of how power operates in society. It's essentially a study of human nature and political strategy. By banning it, these institutions are saying that certain people don't deserve to understand how power works in our world. This is about who gets to access knowledge and who doesn't. When we decide that some people are too dangerous to read certain ideas, we're creating a two-tiered system of intellectual citizenship. Now here's where things get even more concerning. Sophies World by Jostein Gaarder, a beloved introduction to philosophy that has helped millions of people understand complex philosophical concepts, has been challenged in some American schools. The reason? It contains non-Christian philosophical ideas that might shake students' beliefs. Let that sink in. We're talking about banning a book that teaches young people how to think critically about life's biggest questions. The book doesn't attack any particular religion. Instead, it introduces students to the rich tradition of human philosophical inquiry, from ancient Greece to modern times. When schools ban books like this, they're sending a clear message. We don't trust you to encounter different ideas and make up your own mind. We'd rather keep you intellectually isolated than risk you thinking for yourself. Next, let's examine Frantz Fanon's The Wretched of the Earth, another target of prison censorship. This groundbreaking work explores the psychological effects of colonialism and the process of decolonization. It is a powerful anti-colonial work that examines how colonialism dehumanizes both the colonized and the colonizer, arguing that true liberation can only be achieved through revolutionary violence, cultural renewal, and the creation of a new national consciousness. Prison systems have banned it because they claim it encourages violence and rebellion. But here's what they're missing. Fanon wasn't writing a manual for violence. He was analyzing the psychological trauma inflicted by oppressive systems and examining how oppressed people reclaim their humanity. By banning this book, institutions are essentially saying that understanding the psychology of oppression is too dangerous. The irony is staggering. These same institutions that ban books about understanding oppression are often the very systems that perpetuate it. They're afraid of people developing the vocabulary to articulate their experiences and think critically about systemic injustice. The pattern becomes even clearer when we look at Cornel West's Democracy Matters. This powerful critique of American politics and society has been removed from some public libraries and educational institutions for its so-called radical political content. But what exactly is radical about asking hard questions about democracy? West's book examines how corporate influence, media manipulation, and political corruption threaten democratic values. These are conversations we should be having more, not less. By labeling such critiques as radical and removing them from public access, these institutions are essentially saying that questioning the status quo is un-American. But isn't questioning authority exactly what America was founded on? The situation gets even more troubling when we examine recent efforts in states like Florida. Judith Butler's Gender Trouble, a foundational text in gender studies, has been targeted for removal from school districts and libraries. Officials claim it undermines family structure and promotes dangerous ideas about gender identity. But Butler's work isn't promoting any particular lifestyle. It's asking philosophical questions about how we understand gender as a social construct. Whether you agree with Butler's conclusions or not, the book represents serious academic inquiry into fundamental questions about human identity and social organization. When we ban books like this, we're not protecting families. We're protecting ignorance. We're saying that some questions are too dangerous to ask, some thoughts too risky to think. Perhaps most ironically, Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed has been removed from textbook lists in Florida and Texas. This book, which focuses on education as a tool for liberation and critical thinking, has been deemed too political for educational settings. The absurdity here is breathtaking. We're banning a book about education from educational institutions because it suggests that education should help people think critically about their world. We're literally banning critical thinking itself. Freire's work argues that education should help people develop consciousness about their social conditions and their ability to transform them. Apparently, this idea is so threatening that it cannot be allowed in our schools. But there's one more case that might be the most chilling of all. In 2010, the U.S. Department of Defense did something unprecedented with Army Reserve Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaffer's memoir, Operation Dark Heart. They didn't just ban it from certain institutions. They bought and destroyed all 9,500 copies of the first edition. Although the book isn't completely banned, only a heavily censored version can be sold today. The Department of Defense claimed it posed national security risks. But what exactly made the government so afraid of this memoir? The first version of the book contained detailed descriptions of CIA, NSA, and special operations methods. It disclosed code names, secret mission locations, and intelligence gathering techniques that the government wanted to keep hidden. But the most explosive revelation was about something called the Able Danger program. Here's where it gets really disturbing. Schaffer implied that this intelligence program had actually identified al-Qaeda connections before September 11th, and that this crucial information had not been properly utilized. Think about what that means. Schaffer's account implied that the Pentagon and intelligence agencies had failed in critical decisions that could have prevented 9/11. The government was concerned that this revelation would undermine public confidence in their institutions. So they took the extraordinary step of buying and destroying every copy they could find, then forcing the publisher to release a version with entire paragraphs blacked out, sentences redacted, and portions of the index removed. This wasn't done by some authoritarian foreign government. This was done by a country that claims to export democracy to countries mentioned. That makes it even more disturbing. So why does all this matter? Why should you care about what books are banned in prisons, schools, and libraries? Think about the progression we've seen. First, they ban books in prisons, arguing that incarcerated people can't handle certain ideas. Then they ban books in schools, claiming students need protection from challenging concepts. Finally, they remove books from public libraries, deciding what entire communities should be allowed to read. Each step normalizes the idea that censorship is acceptable, that some people in authority know better than you what you should be allowed to think about. But you should have the right to encounter these ideas and make up your own mind. You should have the freedom to wrestle with challenging concepts and develop your own understanding of the world. Thanks for watching.